Hello, all. I'm doing this in sort of a voiceover and slideshow format. Long story short, I can't really record me right now, so bear with me while I cover what I watched in May and June of 2026. So, if you're familiar with my channel, you know I was trying to do a challenge in May of watching 20 films. As some of you may also know, I lost a dear friend in May, and it kind of put a wrench in everything, and I decided to cut it down to watching 10 movies in May. So I started with Inherit the Wind, which I gave 4 stars and the like heart on Letterboxd. Now, the issue with Inherit the Wind was it was already logged on my Letterboxd because when I went to put it in my diary, it said rewatch. And I said, what? So I went through and found I had watched it several years ago. I thought I had only seen parts of the film and didn't really remember all of it. So I'm not sure whether I should call that new or not. So to be safe, I watched 10 others. Next up was The Fugitive Kind with Marlon Brando. I gave that 3.5 stars. It was kind of hard to watch in parts. Some of it was a little bit upsetting. Some of it was a little confusing. But I wanted to see it because Sidney Lumet directed it. And as some of you know, I really enjoy his work for the most part. I haven't seen anything I don't like yet. Third was Passion Fish. I gave that 3 stars, but no like heart because it was a little predictable in parts, and also we're supposed to be rooting for the main character to steal someone's husband away. That didn't quite sit well with me as a married woman. Next up, we have The Brother from Another Planet, which I really enjoyed. I gave that 3.5 stars and the heart. It starred Joe Morton and was directed by John Sayles, who also directed Passion Fish. The director also plays a role in the film as a man in black, so to speak, and his partner is played by David Strathairn. So that's what drew me in initially. I don't believe I'd ever seen Joe Morton as a lead before. He's usually a supporting kind of actor, so that was really nice, and he did remarkably well here because his character doesn't speak, and he just gets the point across anyway with his facial expressions and his body language, and it's just a great performance. The Sure Thing is the first Rob Reiner movie I have attempted to watch since his death in December. I thought I would go with something I hadn't seen before rather than one of the ones that's kind of beloved to me. It just seemed easier. And in fact, it was a lot less emotional of an experience for me this way. I enjoyed the film. I kind of predicted how it was going to play out because, there's just certain tropes in rom-coms. I actually found it here on YouTube for free, so that was nice. I did recently find the DVD, though, which apparently is a little hard to come by these days, so I was lucky. I also only paid $1.99 for it, so I was very lucky. The next thing I watched was Remarkably Bright Creatures, which everybody was talking about in May, and I was curious about it. So it is a Netflix film starring Lewis Pullman and Sally Field and an octopus. I gave Remarkably Bright Creatures 4 stars and a heart. It just really struck me. It was very touching. It was hilarious in parts and sad in parts, and it was a very human kind of story. I said this in my Letterboxd review, but I'll say it here as well. I think fans of the TV show This Is Us will enjoy this film because the way the story kind of wraps around and twists and turns is very akin to an episode of that show. So I think you would enjoy it. Next up was Crust. I promised the director of this, Sean Whalen, that I would watch it, and I haven't really told him yet on Instagram that I've watched it. I only gave it 2.5 stars. it just wasn't for me, let's say. It was fun in parts, but it was just too icky for me. There's kind of an age gap relationship where the actress herself is older than the character looks. And the character says something like, "Oh, don't worry, I'm older than I look." But it's really hard to watch it. And of course, the whole origin story of the creature is pretty gross. Next up, I finally saw Friday. I was about to get kicked out of Gen X if I didn't see this, so I'm glad I finally did. I gave it 3.5 and the heart. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot simpler of a story than I expected, and that was really kind of nice, actually. Next up was Sunset Boulevard, which I gave 5 stars and the heart. I rarely appoint anything 5 stars, so you can tell how much this one really struck me. It is just an absolutely masterfully made movie. I was very impressed with it, and I will be watching it again. I watched it on DVD, but I also own a Blu-ray copy, so I'm curious to rewatch and see what the differences are. With older films, I tend to prefer DVD because Blu-ray makes it look too modern to me. So that's just kind of my preference. But I will check it out anyway. There's also like a making of documentary on the DVD that is fantastic and shed a lot of light on the story. And it kind of made me like the movie more after knowing, the context and the background. Next up was Project Hail Mary, another film everyone seemed to be talking about in May. I finally saw it when it hit digital, but I immediately regretted not seeing it in the theater because those visuals probably were amazing on the big screen. So I gave Project Hail Mary 4 stars and a heart. And lastly for May was The Thing. Yes, John Carpenter's The Thing I had not seen. Now, I should clarify, I pretty much knew the entire film from various people talking about it, from watching videos where people talk about it. I pretty much knew everything that was going to happen, so I wasn't really surprised by much, but it was still really nice to kind of see it all in order and in context. So I really enjoyed that one. Now, for June, I did not accomplish much movie watching. I saw Sing Sing, which I gave 4.5 stars and a heart. I have owned that on digital since pretty much when it became available and still hadn't watched it. So I finally got on that. It was absolutely remarkable. I loved that film. And the fact that so many of the men were playing themselves is just so impressive. So next I watched Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves, which I gave 4 stars and a heart. I really, really liked this one. The way the film plays out, it feels like you are watching a team of people play the game, and you're seeing their gameplay play out as real life, so to speak, in these characters. Like they're acting out the things people are coming up with. That's how it feels to me anyway. And I think that was a really, really fun approach. Next up, I went to see Toy Story 5 with my husband, our daughter, and some of her friends from high school. It was sort of a meetup organized by one of the other moms. And it was a lot of fun. I didn't care for the movie all that much, and I think everyone else in the party kind of did, so I didn't really say anything, but I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't as bad as part 4, I will say, but it just seems so unnecessary. Part 4 and part 5 are just so unnecessary because part 3 ended in it was such a perfect ending, and there was really no need to keep going. But, Disney's gonna Disney. Next up, I saw Masters of the Universe, also with my husband and daughter. It was really a lot of fun. As an 80s kid, it was fun to see the references to the toys, to the cartoon. And the music was kind of 80s. They let He-Man keep his 80s hairdo. I gave it 3 stars and a heart. I think I'd like to see that again, actually. Lastly, for June, I watched Basquiat, which I gave 3.5 stars and a heart. I kind of watched this one in an unusual way. I watched part of it on Tubi, and it was black and white. And then I watched the remainder of it in color, which was on YouTube, but I found out that my physical copy I have is also in color, which apparently is kind of rare to get your hands on. I guess most of the physical copies are in black and white. So I had some rewatches for May and June, which included On the Line, Home at Last, Michael, as I mentioned, once in the theater and once at home when it was released on digital. Watching This Is It on June 25th was perhaps not the best idea for me emotionally, but I felt like I should commemorate the day in some way. It was the 17th anniversary of Michael Jackson's passing. That's about it for now. I'm doing much better for July so far, knock on wood. So hopefully I'll have a lot more to share with you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I will see you again.